Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 5:30. And I can see that everybody is actually here. So the first order of business is to call the roll to establish the quorum. You want to do the honors, Jeremy?
Sure. Jack Jacoby.
Here.
Ed Stan.
Here.
Jackie Romanicki.
Here.
Gail Clark.
You'll be muted, Gail.
Here.
Jerry Freacott.
Here.
Mike Tyler.
Here.
Andrew Acosta.
Here.
And Kelly Bennett.
Here.
All right.
And Kelly, do you want to introduce yourself as the newest member to your fellow members?
Hi, everyone. My name's Kelly. I just got sworn in this past week. I am so excited and pleased to be here, and thank you all for welcoming me aboard.
Kelly is a member of the bar, so I have some support now.
We won't hold that against her.
So next thing we need to do is that Jeremy sent out the minutes from August 6th. Is there a motion, Jackie?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
All right.
Go ahead.
Jack Jacoby.
Yes.
Ed Stan.
Yes.
Jackie Romanicki.
Yes.
Gail Clark.
Yes.
Jerry Freacott.
Yes.
Mike Tyler.
Yes.
Andrew Acosta.
Yes.
And Kelly Bennett.
Yes.
Okay, that passed unanimously. I'm going to skip past the bills and we'll sort of vote on them all at the end, but we'll do things piecemeal. Tom Hayes, as always, you're up first.
You.
So you want to give us an update?
Yeah, the variable frequency drives, basically, once we receive the O&M manuals from the contractor, they will be completely finished with the project. We did grant substantial completion already, and we're just waiting for the O&Ms for the drives themselves now.
Are we still holding money on them?
There is a little bit of retainage, yeah. Then we'll do the final pay applications once that has been reviewed by CDM and they approve the O&M manuals, and then they're turned over to us.
And was there some training you needed too?
The training took place, at least a month ago now. We've had all the training on site.
So you're happy?
Yes, yeah, they're working well.
Okay, so would we expect at our meeting next month, we might be releasing the retainage on that?
I can't see why we won't. I mean, it shouldn't take that long. It's pretty simple, the review on it. I'm just waiting for them to be turned over.
Okay. What about the gravity thickener and the lime silo boot?
Gravity thickener 1 will be put into service over a week ago. The manufacturer came out, witnessed the startup, approved their installation. It's working fine, no problems, and they're working hard on number 2. They're actually already starting to install the mechanisms. So probably within the next 3 weeks, they should be complete if things stay on track with their schedule. The lime boot, we're already staging to bring the lime levels down so we can grant them access to the silo to install it. So that sometime in the middle of September, we're planning on doing that.
So will we be looking at substantial completion on the rest of this project by our October meeting?
That's cutting it close. I'm not sure if there's going to be any punch list items. There's a couple of punch list items on gravity thickener 1 right now, and they probably won't address those until gravity thickener 2 is completed. It's some minor cement work that needs to be touched up and things like that. So it may be more like November.
Well, there's a distinction though, because substantial completion means they're 99% complete by dollar value and there's just a punch list left. So would you
By
think,
that point, then, yeah, probably, yeah.
and then final completion might be in November or December, depending on how quickly they do the punch list, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Commission members, any questions for Tom?
More of a comment, Jack.
Yeah.
So Tom, congratulations. I'm glad you're finally getting there with this project. I think my question it kind of coincides with having new equipment and then reading in the paper with all these wipes causing you guys a bunch of problems in the system. Does that affect any of the new equipment that you just got?
It affects everything. It doesn't matter if it's old or new. They're a problem, and it doesn't matter what type of equipment you have, Mike. They're going to be a problem until people stop using them. There's no way around it. There's nothing out there in the industry that can handle them.
Okay. Is there anything that maybe this commission should know that is there any type of item maybe available that would help you out? And it doesn't seem like people are actually hearing our word on not doing this.
It's basically, it comes down to more education and more public awareness, which we're pushing right now. People are not going to change the habit, especially now. It's a simple solution. To anybody else, it's a piece of toilet paper. They don't understand. It's actually mostly made of plastic fibers and whatnot, and it doesn't break down. And if people flush everything down the toilet. So.
Oh, thanks, Tom. Just trying to help. If there's a way that we could help out, I mean, I'm sure the commission.
No, I mean, we have equipment in place to actually cut and chop down solids that come into the plant down to 3/8 inch size. They'll chop a 2x4 or 4x5, just like a wood chip. They'll just chip it right up. They won't touch these wipes.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Okay. Tom, when we get to paying the bills, we have a bill for the VFD from CDM Smith for $5,733.56. Do you recommend that we pay that?
Yes, that was for the work they did out here last month. Yes.
And for the Gravity thickeners, a bill from CDM Smith for $9745.37. Are you also recommending that?
Yes.
Okay, then we will take those recommendations to heart when we take the roll call on paying the bills. So, Tom, our next meeting, all things being equal, will be October 7th. So if you want to mark that in your calendar.
Yep.
Commission members, anything else for Tom, or can we say goodnight? Hearing nothing, I guess we're going to say goodnight.
All right, everybody have a good night. See you in a month.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye.
Just a quick update on the water project, the Attleboro Pawtucket Interconnect. The memo that we reviewed last month, the mayor has not sent that down yet, correct, Jeremy?
Correct.
Is he planning on sending that down shortly?
He is.
Good. Then the other thing was that I had this blinding thought last weekend, so much so that I sent myself an email so I wouldn't forget it. And it was that we probably need a minor site plan review for this project. And we undoubtedly need a stormwater permit for this project. And so I spoke with Jeremy and he has contacted Gary Erasian, and Gary has put that in motion, correct?
Correct. He's reviewing whether we need a minor site plan review, but as Jack said, we definitely need the other permit. So he's starting that ball rolling on that.
Because I would hate to get this out to bid and find out that we didn't have the permits and the building inspector didn't give us a building permit. We'd look awfully foolish, wouldn't we?
Sure.
So then next, I think we're going to go to another really successful project, the Brennan Womp roof project. So who is going to be addressing us on that?
Andy Barr and myself, Susan Gleason, will be giving you the update this evening.
So take it away, Susan.
All right. Well, hopefully you've all received the packet of information that I forwarded to Jeremy, but just to go in order of my report here, we have 2 invoices in with you this evening, one for Russo Bar and pay up number 3 from MDM Roofing. Both have been signed and approved by Skanska. We have an update to the overall program budget in your packet. And MDM is 85% complete and billed. And as far as the total with all of the soft costs, we're at 80% in total of your signed contract with everyone. And we are still anticipating coming under that number with not having used any of the allowances to date. We do see some OSB board that was wet and deteriorated at Womp that has been replaced, that is being quantified. And so we're thinking that somewhere around the $5,000 range. We also are looking at a possible addition of heat trace to the gutters to prevent any icing at the entries and around the perimeter. And Jack, as you know, we were talking to MDM trying to get the electrician to give us a number. He hasn't been able to give us an update yet, but we're fairly confident that the number from Russo Bar, from Rich's putting together the packet, is somewhere around 50,000 for everything. And so if you're interested in pursuing that, we're still trying to get actual hard costs from the electrician, but that would be sort of a not to exceed number for that change.
Susan, let me just stop you there.
Yep.
For the benefit of all the commission members, at one of our Monday afternoon meetings, the contractor pointed out that the gutters that we're installing on the 2 middle schools as part of this roof project are larger than usual. And the reason for that is that the pitch on these roofs is so steep that water flies down the pitch and misses the gutter. So Andy's firm designed bigger gutters so that the water would not end up on the ground, which is what the gutter is supposed to do. And the contractor, however, pointed out that we were at an increased danger of having ice dams in these gutters because water might be accumulating there, whether from melting snow or from rainstorms, and suggested that we might want to look into this. Susan or Andy, do you want to supplement that in any way? Because my understanding is a lawyer's understanding, not an architect or engineer's understanding.
Yeah, I can talk to that. Basically, you pretty much summarized the issue pretty well. And also in talking with Jason at the school, as far as how things have performed in the past, where they've had ice damming problems, where they've had icicle problems, things like that, are around certain areas. So what we did is we looked at the plan and said, okay, what's the best way to accommodate these, a solution for this? And basically what it is there'll be heat trace, heat cables that will run in the gutter and down the downspouts. It's not going to run up on the roof the way you sometimes see them, because we're not necessarily looking to melt the snow. We're looking to keep the gutters from freezing up. And so at least that there is a path for water to get down, whether it's through the gutter and then as well down the downspout. So that's what that's the system that we're designed, that we have added to this project. And basically we also were able to locate electric rooms in the building, which would allow us to not have to have really long runs to get to them. These things can each have individual circuits. There is a control system that basically there's sensors which measure both the temperature and also the condition of the water in the gutter. So when it freezes and it's cold enough, these things will come on. And it's a modern system, if you will, so that Jason and the staff in facilities will be able to monitor these things to make sure that they're working, and also program them that they won't work when they shouldn't be working. So, so I think it's a good solution. We're still sort of fine tuning it, you know, as far, because this is a sort of design on the go situation. So what we have recommended, and as Susan said, is a not to exceed number at this point in time that we feel is a pretty decent number to accommodate all this, and then we will get actual pricing from an electrical subcontractor.
So before I ask the commission to take a vote on whether we want to authorize this additional work to be done, I want to throw it open to the commission members to ask any questions, make any comments that you may have concerning this proposal. And just bear in mind that, Susan, our bid was what, 800,000 under, and we had a couple $100,000 in the allowances. And
You had 34,000 in allowances, and you also had 177 in your owner's contingency, and we had 15,000 in a line item for hygienists. So you have plenty of funds already in the contract, in the budget that we had set up, in the program budget, to accommodate this. So even if you spend the entire 50, you're still looking at getting back on your, you know, your published budget of 3.9. You would be under that by around 800,000 or more at this point.
yeah, so my opinion after listening to the people was that this is something we ought to do, that it would be of great value to the school department. But again, commission members.
Are they looking to do both schools?
Yes, it's about 25 a school, Jerry.
Okay.
Yeah, Jack, I have a question for Andy on this one.
Go ahead.
So Andy, I think, as you guys know, the maintenance staff for the schools is certainly not up to the current amount of members it probably should be. So traditionally, they probably clean the gutters a couple times a year, maybe late fall and towards the summer after spring. Adding these electrical elements to the gutters and the downspouts, does that require additional maintenance to keep that clean so these things are running optimal?
To some extent, yes, but not. I mean, it's going to measure, one, temperature, and two, just basically a frozen state. So obviously, even if you were to have some water, some leaves and things in there that freeze, it's still going to function. It's always going to function better with having clean gutters. That's another thing. As far as the gutters being larger than they were before, you have more water flowing in the gutters, which should help keep the gutters clean. We did talk about the possibility of putting you know, mesh or some type of leaf catchers on the gutters. And our experience with those is that what ends up happening is the leaves get broken down into fines, and then they still go down through these things. And then you end up with sludge in the bottom of your gutter, which you can't get at because you have the screens there, and they just don't really work. There have been some trees that have been cut back away from the building, and still more, I believe, that need to be done. So getting those away from the building will also help the situation as far as keeping the gutters clean.
Yeah, one of the things that that the contractor brought up is that there are some trees that need to be cut back because they're impinging on the roof. Is that correct, Andy?
Yeah, that's it exactly. Yeah, I mean, one, you don't want them in contact with the roof. You also, you know, keeping some of the shade off of the roof is going to help the roof as far as not growing organic, and then plus it just keeps the stuff out of the gutters. So yeah, what we talked about was there's definitely some trees that need to be trimmed back.
Do we answer your questions, Mike?
Yeah, I think to answer my question, I think that is probably the best solution to this. I'm sure Jason would actually recommend this too, but I think we have to work with whether or not it's going to be the city forestry department or we're going to contract it out and get these trees away from these schools. to prolong the life of them, and certainly for the maintenance of, especially when we add an electrical element to them. So I've seen them in the past. They work very well, and they're much more advanced when I was in that field, but they do have a little maintenance overcost to them if all the proper protocols are not taken beforehand. So I just want to make sure that the tree trimming, I think, is a great solution to that, but that needs to take place concurrently with the project going on.
Yeah, so with regard to the trees, the contractor is prepared to cut back the trees as part of this job. But one of the things that we talked about with Jason, and by the way, he's in favor of this, but one of the things we talked about with Jason Parento was whether actually a couple of trees should be cut down. And if we were to do that, I'd want to make sure that the mayor was on board with that. And we'd probably ask Derek Corsi to take those trees down in due course rather than paying the contractor to do it. But if there are fewer leaves falling into the gutters, I think the schools will be better off. Ed, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wondered, has the option been explored of having no gutters at all?
There are not gutters all the way around the school. The only place that there are gutters really is over entrances. And as a matter of fact, we have extended some gutters over the main entrances because there was a situation where there was more water getting to the one gutter that ran over right across above the door than there should be, and consequently it was shooting out over the top of that. So we extended the gutters and added some gutters. These are very high gutters, well away from trees and things like that. But I'm all for not having gutters as much as possible. But in certain areas you have to, because that main entrance is going to be used whether it's raining or not. So keeping the water away from it and stopping it from shooting out over the top is just needs to be done. So.
And Andy, we also have some snow guards up there too, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We do. There's areas of snow guards, once again, near entrances, just to help keep the snow from sliding off in those areas, and in other areas where it could damage, whether it's equipment or the roofs themselves. Yeah, there's snow guards which have to be put on still.
Or the students or the staff who are walking in the front door.
Right.
Because I remember when these buildings opened, we did not have snow guards, and the roofs were so steep that we had some problems.
Yep.
So anybody else have any questions or comments?
Jack, are we just limiting our comments right now to the add-on electrical things for the gutters, or about the overall project?
Well, let's deal with the gutters first, and then we'll move on to other issues.
Okay, perfect. No, my questions were answered. Thank you.
Okay. Commission members, do you feel we're in a position to approve a change not to exceed $50,000 for adding the heat trace? If I don't hear anything else, I'll ask Jackie for a motion.
So moved.
And
Second.
Terry? Thank you.
All right, Ed,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
and Jack.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Susan, do you want to continue with your project review?
Yes. So the next item is just overall schedule. Brennan is currently in punch list, and Wamsutta is targeted for middle of September before the students arrive on the 14th. Our windows are still delayed with the manufacturer. We have not been able to get a firm delivery date. They are still anticipating mid to end of September. The team is working to coordinate how we're going to get those installed, whether it's evenings, long weekends, how to work around the activities within the building. And we understand that, the busing schedules, and that there's a possibility there may not be students there on Wednesdays. So we're working with Jason and everyone on the team. But until we have a hard delivery date, we really can't put anything on the calendar yet. The teachers have all been on site for about a week now, and we haven't had any issues or comments. We are putting the remaining touches on. The snow guards will be going on. The tie-in of all the lightning protection is happening. And there's still some metal work, but interior wise, they walked the punch list for one of the buildings last week. They're doing the second one on Tuesday, just to make sure there's no more acoustical ceiling tile or paint touch-ups that are needed. So I think that's it in terms of schedule. And I included in the packet some photographs of both buildings, just to give you an idea of what things are looking like. And hopefully we'll be able to wrap this up by the end of September. But again, we'll have an update once we have a firm date on those windows.
Yeah, just to amplify that, the windows we're talking about are the big round windows up in the tower. And apparently those are a special manufacturing item. And the manufacturer had some COVID shutdowns. I think that's what we understood. Is that correct?
Yes, the factory was shut down for 2 months. And so they're just getting back up to speed, and there's no way for us to jump the line, to move ahead in manufacturing, to move ahead in shipping. We've tried all different angles, and it's not a product that any of us have purchased a lot of, so we don't have any connections or ability to move anybody along any faster. So we're just sort of in the queue waiting.
Yeah, so we talked with Mark Furtado and Jason Parento, and what they have determined is that when the windows arrive on site, that the contractor could start work at 3:30 and work until 6:30 or 7, whenever the light got too low. And, that's really not a lot of time in a block. So one of the things we talked about and they were going to consider was whether we could give it to them 3:30 on a Tuesday and they could work till 6:30 on Wednesday, because the kids won't be in the building that day, which might be an option. The other option we talked with the contractor about was using Columbus Day weekend because of a Monday holiday or Indigenous Peoples Day, whatever we call it these days, and getting that work done at that time. So, but it really depends on the manufacturer, and they're not making a lot of commitments right now.
Right.
But other than that, the project has been very successful, correct?
Yes. And Andy said, the representative was out there from the manufacturing company for the shingles, and they didn't have any concerns. So I think we're in good shape. We're just waiting for the material.
Okay, Mike, did you have some further questions?
I did, Jack. Thank you. I think it's fairness to our newest member, Kelly, too. We're just throwing names out there, but Mark Furtado is a business manager for the Attleboro Public Schools. Jason Parento is a facilities director for the Attleboro Public Schools. So when you hear those names coming up, I think she just needs to know who those people are.
And that's a good point.
So I think my question is, I through my travels, I was able to get up to Womp. The progress is right. They're doing a great job. It really looks good. I think my only concern that I have is looking at they're using both sides of the school, left and right, to bring in supplies and do everything. And I realize that, but they need to know that there has to be some type of designated route back there once the schools are open, due to busing, parents drop-offs, special education vehicles rolling in and out of there. So, I mean, it's not going to be able to be the same. So I just hope they realize that. I mean, they were using both sides when I was there, which I can understand when school's not in use, but when the school's in use, that's certainly not going to work. So I just want them to keep that in mind moving forward once the schools are open.
Mike, they know that, and they know that September 14th is the key date, and they need to be off the job except for those round windows by that date. Is that correct, Susan and Andy?
That's correct. They cannot be on campus when students are on campus. So that is, the mandate that, they finish everything on the exterior of the building. Everything on the interior is pretty much done by, this Friday. So there'll be absolutely no reason for them to go in unless we do the heat trace and we have to go in, on a weekend to put those electrical panels. But exterior, there'll be no activity exterior once students are in session.
Thank you. It was just an observation. I'm sure there was a plan. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing that one factor.
Yeah, no, and that's a good point, Mike. And we have emphasized to them at every meeting that you need to be gone by September 14th. That's the whole idea of this job was the summer slammer. We had to get it done before school started. And they were aware of that from day one. They really should have been finished a while ago, but getting the shingles, the nails, and the metal was a problem, correct? Susan?
Yes, due to all the manufacturing delays and getting material, the entire team, Andy's team was working, calling, representatives that they know, and, just anything we could to pull together all the materials, because he certainly had the manpower and was throwing workers at it, every single day of the week. So it wasn't a manpower issue. It was really just getting materials, and COVID has put a wrench in the works for a lot of people, I think.
Okay, any other questions from the commission members? Anything else that you want to add, Susan?
No, we'll see you back in a month, and we'll have hopefully windows installing, and we will have a better idea of, the closeout materials at that point.
Okay, Andy, anything you want to add?
Nope, I think we're all set.
Okay, then unless there's anything else from the commission members, we'll say goodnight to you.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, so now let's get to the really good part of the meeting. Evan, do you want to address us?
Sure. Yeah, so we have some good news. We received our library bids from the GCs on Tuesday. Out of 17 GCs that were plan holders and interested in the project, we received bids from 10 of those contractors. Our low bid was well under budget at little under $3.6 million. The highest bid was up to $5.4 million. The good news was that the three low bidders were pretty much seeing the same scope of work and were within a little over $200,000 of each other. So again, good news there. So Track Builders from Providence is the apparent low bidder. Tract is not only DCAM certified in general building construction, but also in historical building restoration, and that's important to us. In addition to that, their current DCAM cert gave an average rating of 96 based on 13 projects with 0 failed scores for that. They are rated with DCAM a little over $22 million single project limit and a little over $57 million for aggregate project limit. I did some reference checking and was able to speak with someone from Kite Architects that has had quite a lot of experience with Track Builders over the last 10 years, projects ranging from 2 million to 20 million. Recently completed Steel Yard project in Providence, was historic building restoration with windows, brick roofing, doors, and some of the rest of it. They have had nothing but good experience with Tract. Said that they were particularly good on schedule and move logistics. They had some tricky projects where there was a lot of phasing and completing work, moving folks over, and that they did very well with them and would recommend and would work with them again. In addition to that, here in Massachusetts, the Tract is currently doing a Brighton Municipal Court building that is a little over $6 million in contract cost. Aligns very closely with our library project. This is a stone and masonry building from the 20s. It's a historic building. Architectural, historic wood window work, slate work, copper metal work, and the folks from SGH had some good things to say about them. Honest contractor, good on change orders, good with RFIs and documentation. So we seem to have lucked into a good, low and eligible contractor. So based on that, we would, our original budgeted amount for construction cost was $5.4 million. At our latest estimate round, which was 80% construction documents, we had the construction cost estimated at $4.8 million. You may recall that we received very good filed sub bids that were initially just under $900,000 under budget. However, some of those folks had restricted their bids to specific contractors. So on Tuesday, we basically realized about $700,000 in filed sub bid savings and about $550,000 in all other work that the GC bids came in for a total under our 80% estimate of about $1.2 million. So since we are well under budget and we have a good bid from a responsible and eligible bidder, we would recommend that that you folks consider awarding the Attleboro Library project to Tract Builders in the amount of $3,557,714.
Just a couple of questions. Evan, are you satisfied with all the subcontractors that were chosen?
We are still looking into getting some additional information from Capeway, but largely all of them are folks that most of us would recognize. And, particularly good news is that construction specialist, who is the low masonry bidder, and that's an important scope of work on this project, is local to Attleboro and have some very impressive resume relative to historic buildings and performance with that. So that, in addition to some mock-up requirements in the specifications for both masonry and our slate roofing and metal work, we think that we've got a good group of filed subs and a good general on this project.
And then one other question. Even though our construction 80% estimate was 4,810, I think we carried in our budget, and you say 5,4?
Correct.
So are we, compared to our $6.9 million bond issue, are we thinking that we're 1.8?
Yes, correct. 1.8 under, under bid relative to estimated construction cost, and we still have a very robust construction contingency, and we have soft cost contingency.
What's our construction contingency?
I want to say about 700,000.
So the best case scenario is we might be turning $2.5 million back?
I would say so, yes. And I do want to add that, I have another project that we've just received trade bids or filed sub bids on, and that project is in the same boat, that there are really good numbers currently coming in, and a lot of interested folks in terms of the bidding climate. So I don't know if, specifically if this is related to kind of COVID uncertainty and whatnot, but I think that a lot more folks wanted to make sure that that they've got work, which means that they're bidding more projects, and that they're also sharpening their pencils and giving owners very good numbers.
Well, this is great news. Commission members, questions, comments?
Yeah, Jack, I have a question. Come on, people, step it up here. I can't be the only one asking questions. So, Evan, how you doing? I don't know if you were part of the previous discussion or not, but on another project that the city of Attleboro is doing, we've had a supply shortage that set us back a little bit. You anticipate that happening on any of this project with the library, or are they hearing that the supply line moving forward may get better or worse? I mean, so we can try to plan for that.
Yeah, Evan, let me just add that on the high school project, there's a shortage of pressure treated lumber, and we went through 3 different manufacturers to get the brick. As you may have heard, on the middle school roof project, the round windows were delayed, and we also had problems that the architect was able to pull some strings and solve for the contractor in getting the roofing nails, the proper roofing nails, and getting the metal work. So I think I'd emphasize by saying that what Mike just said is, do we anticipate that the contractor will be able to get the materials and this project will proceed on time?
So, let me try to answer a couple of things here. We are also seeing and hearing on our other projects that specifically pressure treated lumber is at a shortage, and there is some grumbling about glazing not being available. Luckily on this project, don't have asphalt shingles, which I'm guessing were the issue relative to your nails.
Yes, that was the middle school roofs are the only roofs in the city that aren't flat.
Right. So we've got some flat roof, and then we've got some slate roof, which are some other specialty items. I can tell you what we will certainly do on the library project is discuss that at our kickoff meeting to make sure that we're identifying not only any long lead time items like the slate material itself, regardless of COVID, but making sure that we're pushing the contractor to acquire materials before they need them. And we've done that quite successfully on another of mine, and have been able to move forward during the last 6 months with no schedule delay. So I can't promise that we won't run into shortages, but we will certainly be on top of it and make sure to minimize and address any issues as they arise.
Answer your question, Mike?
It does. Thank you, Evan. There's only so much we can do, but I think the pre-planning is the optimum thing we can do on this to make sure. That never doesn't seem lately to be a shortage of workforce. It always seems to be supplies, which is understandable, but I think we need to plan the best we can for that, as you just addressed.
Okay.
So I think, so one of our kind of phase one scope at the library is to do some of the flat roof work there. So I don't foresee a materials issue with that. So that was in essence planned to occur this fall. Our hope would have been that we could also do the roof at the same time. But the way that the project is set up, we're going to try to get as much exterior work as done as we can this fall. Take a break in the winter, work on the inside mechanical systems kind of throughout, and readdress or remobilize for exterior work in the spring. So it does seem, at least some of the project references seemed that Track Builders has a good track record of dealing with tight schedules and whatnot. One of the projects that I was talking about, and this is a historic project, was about $2 million in scope that was executed in about 4 months. So that's pretty reasonable time frame for these folks. So we will again make sure that we have our best foot forward and try to minimize any impacts.
Thank you, Evan.
Any other commission members have any questions or comments? Ed?
Yeah, is it too late in the project to consider metal roofing of those non-flat areas?
Well, so the areas that are not flat are actually slate. So that would be our best. That's the best material. That's what we currently have planned there. So I don't see an opportunity for an upgrade in roofing systems. I can certainly check with the architect, for instance, whether we have 80 mil membrane specified. If we have a lesser product specified, we can certainly get some pricing and considering upgrading that.
Evan, the slate roof, that would be on the historic portion of the building, is that correct?
That is correct.
And that goes back 115 years, right?
I believe that it does, and maybe more importantly, it's what folks are used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Ed, but you know, when you're talking about the historic building, I think we have to be careful to preserve the historic nature of it and the way that it was constructed. I think a lot of what we heard when we discussed this library extensively a year ago was that the historic portion is one of the gems of the city, and we want to maintain it as such. Christine, do you have any questions or comments? I see you've joined us.
Yeah, sorry, we have our friends meeting the first Wednesday also, and it ran over. No, I'm just very happy with the numbers and looking forward to getting started. We've been busy throwing stuff out, as Evan suggested, so that we can get the areas ready for when they're ready to start the inside work.
Okay. Any other commission members have any questions or comments?
I do have a question. Evan, I see in your narrative recommendation that you mentioned that the value of the 3 lowest bids were very tight and within 215,000 of each other, and that you were likely seeing the same scope in the bid documents. Have you had a chance to review to see if there were any substantive differences in the scopes between these lowest bidders?
Unfortunately, public bidding laws in Massachusetts under Chapter 149 do not allow us to do that. Just quite frankly, if this was a private job, we would do an extensive what we call descope and leveling to make sure that we had all the scope and whatnot. Again, public bidding laws in Massachusetts require us to put together drawings and specifications that are then reviewed and bid, and you own what's in the documents on bid day.
Okay, so we don't know whether there's something that they've bid in here. We wouldn't know that we would be missing out on a particular opportunity or some savings with the other two bidders. We're just sort of going with, they've bid us based on what those specs and those documents said.
Kelly, let me address that. We chose to do the traditional filed sub-bid general contractor for this project. When we did the high school, we did the construction manager at risk, and that is a very different method of procurement and one that would have allowed us to do all the things that you're describing. But we made the decision on this one that the project didn't warrant that. And so I think the bottom line is that if there's value engineering, it's not, the contractor isn't going to tell us about it unless they think they can save some money too. Is that fair, Evan?
Thank you,
Yes,
I appreciate that.
I would say so. I think, I don't know if this adds any comfort, but I think our design team, the architect and engineers involved, really understood the scope of work that's required here. And STV has done those documents before they went out to bid. So I think we have the, for instance, the right HVAC system replacement scheduled here, and the envelope repair work is well documented.
Great, thank you. I'm sure the team's, thank you for your patience bearing with me. I'm just getting caught up on where we are with this project, so I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Evan.
Oh, not at all.
Not a problem. We still struggle with the filed sub-bid law and the way that things work in Massachusetts, but they don't ask us about these laws. They simply pass them and we administer them. Unless there's anything else, I think we need a motion to recommend to the mayor awarding the contract to Track Builders, Inc. in the amount of $3,557,714.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, just one question, just for personal, actually, I'm sorry. I should have asked it earlier. What's the current waste factor when you're talking slate roofs? Evan?
The waste factor?
Yeah, I mean, it's traditionally a lot higher than if you were doing asphalt shingles or fiberglass shingles, so.
I want to say, so it depends on the type of roof. If you had a simple gable roof, right? You really only have, right, let's say cut ends to it. A hip roof, you're multiplying, right? You're multiplying that and whatnot. So it really depends on the type of roof. I think maybe the good news here is the slate portion of the roof here is relatively small, but I might expect maybe 20% waste, but I could see that typically a smart roofer might buy 30% because just the handling alone can have damaged slate that you cannot use.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Evan. It's more of a personal question, but
oh, that's all right.
I dealt with slate before in historical buildings, and boy, I can tell you it's.
Hey, Mike, Mr. Tyler, my name is Bob Barton, and we just did a slate roof up the street on a church. And it was right on target with Evan. It was about 20%. But again, it was a much larger surface area, so you don't have as many cuts, but it was right about 20% for St. John's.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, you bet, sir.
And Evan, I'm sorry.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Jeremy, do your thing.
All right, Ed,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
and Jack.
Yes.
And
Passes
Terry's
unanimously.
yes too.
Oh, sorry, Terry.
Sorry we missed you, Terry.
I've been here.
It is unanimous now. So now we need to go back and pick up the bills. And the only bills we haven't talked about would be, Jeremy, the Skanska bill for the middle school roof services and the, are you recommending that?
Yeah, both the Skanska bill and the BH&A bill. So the Skanska bill, we've talked about the rest of the project before. The BH&A bill, STV has approved, correct, Evan?
That is correct.
So yeah, after I review both of them, I do recommend approving both.
So to avoid the number of roll call votes we need, if everyone agrees, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 bills that show up on our agenda. And rather than reading them all out aloud, is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Terry.
All right,
you're welcome.
Ed,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Terry,
Terry, yes.
and Jack.
Yes, that's unanimous. So that has passed. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up, or are we going to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Moved second.
All right, roll call to adjourn. Ed,
Yes.
Jackie,
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
and Jack.
Yes, so we are adjourned at 6:27. Thank you, everyone.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Night.
Oh.